Hello everybody, and welcome back to my War Thunder Ground Forces Tips and Tricks series. Today we'll be looking at how to actually kill tanks and other armored vehicles in War Thunder. We will be covering how to effectively and efficiently kill tanks and some strategies to employ that will quicken your kills. I think the best place to start is actually define what does it mean to be dead in War Thunder. Now, this is a pretty somewhat straightforward thing because you're not necessarily killing the tank itself. You're actually killing the crew inside of the tank. And to be dead in War Thunder means that all of your crew are dead, or all but one of your crew is dead, as long as that last crew member is mortally wounded. Now, mortally wounded means that they're not necessarily dead, but that they are red, the color red, in the cutaway view when you shoot a tank. So if, for instance, we were to shoot this King Tiger, if everyone in the turret was dead, the driver was dead, and the radio operator who sits in the front had a red color to him, the tank would be considered dead. So in order to actually kill a tank in War Thunder, we have to kill all the crew, or at least all but one, and leave the last one wounded. This begs the question, how do we actually kill all the crew in a tank? There's three main ways to do this: shrapnel, ammo rack explosions, and fuel fires / explosions. All three of these are doable with every single ammunition. Now, the most common way to die is through shrapnel. Shrapnel is spalling, it is explosive cores, it is basically anything that bounces around inside the tank at a high velocity that kills people. Shrapnel is by far the most efficient way to kill a tank. It is the most it's the most consistent way to kill a tank, and it is probably the way that I've killed 60 to 70% of the tanks I've ever killed is through shrapnel. And the best way to use shrapnel is through the AP HE round, the armor-piercing high explosive rounds. Next, there's ammo rack explosions. Ammo rack explosions happen when your round hits the ammunition of the tank, and this ammunition detonates, killing the entire crew and destroying the tank in the process. Ammunition racks don't always explode when you hit them, and depending on the ammunition you use, are actually sometimes less likely or more likely than others to explode. Lastly, there's fuel fires / explosions. Now, fuel is obviously in the engine, fuel tanks, and kind of in the transmission, and you can light a tank on fire by hitting any three of those things. However, the only way to get a fuel tank explosion is to actually hit the fuel tanks themselves. Fires are very deadly, and depending on where the fire is located, they can be very deadly very quickly, or they can kind of burn for a while before they actually kill your tank. Now, in general, when we're looking at these different places, most of your crew is going to be located in the fighting compartment, which is this area right here where the turret meets the hull. As we can see, 3 of the crew members, 1, 2, 3, are in the fighting compartment, while 2 of these crew members are in the frontal part of the fighting compartment. By seeing that these are separated out, if we shoot right about here with a AP-HE shell, we can kill all 5 crew members, or at least 4 of them, and wound the 5th. This also is where the ammunition is located. Most tanks will have a ready rack, which is located in the turret, but then have most of the ammunition sit in the turret basket, which is right where the turret... It's basically in the hull where the turret meets the hull. This turret basket is usually the best place to shoot if you're trying to detonate the ammunition, and on majority of tanks, there is a large quantity of ammunition stored there, so you have a fairly high chance of destroying it. The engine is obviously where most of the fuel is located. There's also sometimes fuel tanks in the fighting compartment or in the very front of the tank. However, on most tanks, it is in and around the engine compartment. Fuel is by far the least efficient way to kill a tank because it usually takes a long time, the best way to kill a tank is to kill all the crew or detonate the ammo racks. Those are by far the two more preferable ways to take out tanks. Now, as we talked about before, there are three main shell types you'll be using. These are APHE, APCR, and heat shells. APHE shells, here the Panzergranat 3943, is by far the most efficient. It is the best. It can do everything. They are very effective at killing crew with shrapnel. They are very effective at detonating ammo racks, and they can definitely start fires. They are your all-around shell, and I probably shoot, if I could, exclusively APHE shells from majority of the tanks I fight with. I do throw some APCR in there a couple times, and certain tanks do use heat. However, majority of tanks, majority of the time, use an APHE shell of some kind. Next we have APCR. APCR is not very good at taking out ammo racks. It has a lower chance to detonate them. It's not very good at starting fires. It has a pretty low to medium chance of starting fires. However, it is very good at killing crew. Because it's literally a solid shot, when you hit a crew member, they are going to die. There is pretty much no way around it. It's also very good because it has a high amount of penetration, and you can pretty much point and click to kill any particular crew member you want. Let's say you need to kill the driver, however, like in the Tiger II, he's hidden behind a thick wall of armor. Using APCR, it's much easier to penetrate that armor than it would be with an APHE shell or certain heat shells. APCR is probably the best thing to fire if you are fighting a higher tier tank and are trying to stall them or kill them through repeated killing of crew. That being said, one-shot kills are very difficult with APCR, and if you're looking to quicken your kills, you should probably stick to APHE and certain heat shells, which puts us to heat. Heat is the best at killing ammo racks and the best at starting fires. The way heat works is basically it creates a molten jet of metal and shoots this jet of metal through the armor in a very simplistic nutshell. Because of this, heat is basically a big fiery ball of metal, so when it hits stuff that's explosive or flammable, such as high-octane fuel or ammunition, it tends to detonate things. That being said, it's also very effective at killing crew, and much like APCR, it goes in a single direction. It doesn't spread out. The downsides of both APCR and heat is that when you shoot something, only the things directly behind the shell are hit. With APHE, if you shoot something, anything in the general vicinity gets hit. This means that APHE has a much higher chance of killing crew members inside of a tank, whereas APCR and heat are much better at killing particular crew members, and in the case of heat, detonating ammo racks and starting fires. In general, when we're looking at weak spots on tanks, we are looking for places where there are maximum amounts of crew members and minimal amount of equipment in the way. When this happens, we are looking at mainly flat parts of the turret, such as these turret cheeks, and the lower parts of the glacis here. Now, if we look at the X-ray, we can see that the cheeks have practically nothing behind them when we are trying to get to the crew, whereas the lower glacis has this transmission in the way. This means that if we are trying to choose between the two, it's always better to shoot the turret, because not only is there ammunition behind the people, but there are people in the turret. Remember when shooting at weak spots that this isn't a game about killing the tank itself, it's about killing the crew. So, you want to kill as many crew as possible, and you want to hit as much ammunition or fuel tanks as possible in the process. This means that hitting things like transmission, radio stations, gun breaches, while they can damage and hurt the effectiveness in the tank in the long run, when you're trying to kill things quickly, the best things to hit are ammo racks, fuel tanks, and crew members. That being said, when we're not dealing with the front of the tank, you pretty much have your pick of armor. Because almost this entire tank is very easily penetrated from this side, you want to choose wisely where to shoot. If you shoot in the rear of the tank, you will disable the engine and possibly start fires, which will stop the tank from moving. However, it will also allow the tank to turn its turret and possibly kill you. Remember that crew members have their feet sitting inside of the hull. This means that if you shoot right in front of this ammo rack, you will hit the ammo rack, the 2 crew members in the front, and the feet of all 3 people in the turret. This can potentially kill all 5 members or destroy the ammo rack, possibly doing both at the same time. The best place to shoot the side of a tank when aimed at it is where the turret meets the hull and a little bit forward. This way, you'll hit the ammunition, as many crew members as possible, and possibly hit things on the floor of the tank, such as fuel tanks, transmissions, and more likely than not, also the turret ring. All of these are good things when trying to disable and kill tanks. Now, let's look at engaging an actual tank. We have here a Tiger II on Tiger II battle. The most important thing to know when doing this is, number 1, getting your first shot off before the enemy. This is very much so a first strike kills game. Second thing you want to know is knowing where to shoot. Most importantly, like we talked about before, we want to take out the gunner or the driver. Now, since the enemy is pointing his gun towards us, we want to kill the gunner as quickly as possible, then kill the driver. This will stop the enemy from both trying to kill us, and if we're able to kill the driver in time, stop them from being able to run away. So, let's start out by trying to kill this enemy Tiger II's gunner. As you can see, we succeeded in killing the gunner. So, our follow-up shot now needs to take out the driver. However, if you didn't notice, we also were able to damage the loader and kill the commander. This means that our follow-up shot, if we're able to kill both the driver and the machine gunner, has a chance to kill the tank. So let's see what happens. Since we killed 4 of the 5 and had the loader damaged, we completely killed this tank. This was both clean, quick, and efficient. It only took 2 shots, and the enemy had no chance. They not only were unable to shoot us, but they were unable to run away. This is how to kill tanks. You want to create it so that they can't shoot you, but you can continuously shoot them. This time around, we have a Tiger P who is side on to us. Now, as we talked about before, we want to shoot right where the turret meets the hull and slightly forward. This will maximize the amount of ammo racks we're able to hit and the crew members that are in the area of effect of the round. As you can see, we managed to hit the ammo rack, destroying the tank. This was clean, quick, and very efficient. Whenever you have the opportunity, always shoot at the sides of tanks because it's much easier to penetrate and you have much more choice in where you're going to hit. That being said, you can quicken your shots by shooting at ammo racks and maximizing the amount of crew you can hit. As always, I hope that these tips helped, and I hope that this makes a difference in your War Thunder gameplay. Like to see you guys out there, and if you happen to have any tips that you have and you want to share, or you are needing help with something and you want some advice on something, comment down below, but also make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I do put gameplay out, and I do put other things out besides tips, so check that out, and see you out there, guys. Have fun.